Hello to everybody. This is the first live stream on YouTube channel Legal One, and today we're gonna talk about how to file a case in the arbitration in UAE. What are the conditions? What is the advantage and disadvantage of this procedure? What are the costs? And also, is it possible to make enforcement of the arbitration award? First of all, I want to tell that arbitration is becoming more and more popular in the UAE, and there are a couple of ways how you can proceed with the arbitration, what kind of law you can implement, and how you can move on with the arbitration. Of course, we should admit that not every case can be filed in the arbitration. There are certain conditions that each person has to fulfill. Usually the arbitration is for the agreements related to the disputes, to the contracts, to some commercial dealing, also to the construction, but also you can proceed with the other types of the cases in the arbitration. The main condition is that both parties should agree that the case should go to the arbitration. This is the major condition, because otherwise, if there is no agreement between the parties, then arbitration center will not accept the case. What is the way to agree on the arbitration? Number one, the most popular, you have a major contract. For example, you are buying a house, or you are buying some apartment, and in this agreement you can go to the jurisdiction and you will see what is the law, and also where your possible disputes will be proceeded. So if you see that there is an arbitration there, it means that there is arbitration clause. If there is no arbitration clause, and you really want to go to the arbitration later on, you can make a separate arbitration agreement. This is also possible, and people can use it easily. In case you don't have arbitration agreement at all, there is a point where you can make some just an internal agreement between the parties, even through the email. It will be acceptable only if it will be authorized email, and only between the parties who have like management position in the company, so they can make a decision-making positions. So this is the major condition. You can go to the let's say arbitration, the local arbitration, which is in, for example, in Dubai International Arbitration Center, or you can go to the foreign jurisdictions such as DAFC arbitration. You can also go to, for example, ADGM. You can go to Abu Dhabi. There is also possibility there. You can approve that your seat, your place of the arbitration will be here in UAE, or it will be outside. It all depends about the parties. It all depends about the security for both parties, and also how they want to quickly move on with their case. So first of all, the first advice will be, before you make any dealing between the parties, you should properly see and predict how it will move on with possible breach. For example, non-performance, or some violations, or maybe the other party will refuse to pay, or to provide some services, or will hide some documents, or will make disclosure, for example, sharing information about you, and you did not want to do this. So a lot of options to cross the lines. So you have to be careful, and you have to predict this. Arbitration is very useful when the parties really they are able to communicate. Arbitration can be done in For example, in Arabic language, in English language, it's very obvious, very easy. Also, a good option, a good news that right now with this remote regime, arbitration allows fully to operate and to continue all the procedures online. There is no stop, there is no stuck in this. You can share all the documents, you can for example, make a hearing, you can attend even remotely. It's very easy, and you can go ahead with this. Also, the parties can attend on their own, or they can allow some lawyers to do this. It's also free. I mean, it's also easy, and it's also useful. Comparing with the courts, the procedure is transparent, and you will find some options to communicate with the tribunal. You can find an option to make it quicker, so your decision will be reached as soon as possible. Maybe you will find understanding with the other party with the help of the arbitrator, who is always, of course, an independent body. So the good point about the arbitration, you can decide, you can discuss even who will be an arbitrator, how many arbitrators you will have. It's going to be a one person, or it's going to be 3 person, which of the party will suggest. You can adjust a lot of things that will make easy for you and for the solution of your possible problems in future. What about the disadvantage and advantage? Of course, the arbitration is quite costly comparing with the local courts. For example, in the local court, you will spend maximum of 40,000 in Dubai. In other Emirates, it's gonna be 30, 20,000. But in arbitration, you can spend much more. For example, for the claim around, let's say 200, 250,000, you can spend up to 30,000. So it's like a double, 30, 35,000. It's like a double from the comparing with the local courts. But of course, the advantage is the time and the convenience. You will find it easy to communicate with the tribunal. You will find it easy to submit the documents. You will find it easy to maybe even possibly to settle the dispute anytime. You'll find it easy to make some submission of the documents, to discuss about the terms. For example, you'll not be able to do this time. You can request for a postponement, etc. So you have a lot of options. Comparing with the courts, where you have strict timeline, you don't have an option to skip. You don't have an option to change something. You have to follow the rules. What about the costs in general? If you will take, for example, let's say Dubai International Arbitration Center, there is one cost. If you will go to the DIFC, there is another cost. Of course, it depends about your choice. If you are thinking to do it straight ahead, you have to understand both parties' capacity, financial abilities. If you are thinking about, for example, about English law, of course, you have to go ahead with the DIFC. But if you think about the local law, it's better you will go with the DIAC. Let's say if you are in Dubai. If you want to go with Abu Dhabi, it's also like easy. You can implement the local law. Maybe if your parties they are in Abu Dhabi, or you feel convenient with this place, you have to admit it in the contract. You have to write it down, and more the conditions you will put from the beginning, like on the date of signing of the contract. It will be easier for you to use it in future, because it's very common when people they just write, we will go to arbitration, that's it. And when the arbitration comes, nobody knows how many arbitrators you will have. For example, who will be sharing the costs. The respondent will avoid to pay arbitration costs, so it will be fully on the claimant. It's not also right. So we always advise to do it straight ahead before the claim actually arises. There are some comments I see online. Thank you so much for sharing the comments. If you have some particular questions or you want to discuss something, please type your question, or you can share your opinion after the live stream. You can also write the comments, or you can send an email. Please feel free. And about enforcement, it also depends. I mean, you have to see where are your parties. If your parties, they are both in UAE, you will not feel any difficulties with enforcement. You will have to go to through the local court to make execution file. So to enforce the award and also to open execution file. But if your parties are outside, you will have to make enforcement in the country of your opponent, of your respondent. So there you have to check, double check what are the conditions, what are the costs, to understand fully the procedure. But arbitration is a quick and good solution for the parties if they really want to have an option to settle, to complete the case quickly, if they want to make it in a nice way, in good way, in easy way, and also if they want to take attention, maximum attention for their case. It's a really good choice, but always be careful and check your capacity, your financial abilities before you actually agree to move on with the arbitration. I hope you all enjoyed this live stream. This is like a first trial, and we will repeat it later on if it will be a positive and good impact on you all. Thank you so much for your time. It was Dr. Mariam from Mohammed Bani Hashim Advocates, YouTube channel Legal One. Thank you so much for your attention. Goodbye.